Hey everyone, tonight we journey into the deepest shadows of the galaxy far, far away, where forbidden knowledge sleeps beneath layers of cosmic deception. We're about to uncover secrets so dangerous that both Jedi Masters and Sith Lords united in their desperate attempt to erase them from existence. This is the story of the Eternal Codex, a repository of truth that could rewrite the very fabric of the Force itself. So before we begin this epic journey, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy these deep dives into Star Wars mysteries. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's always incredible to see fellow Star Wars fans joining us from across the world. Now dim the lights, maybe put on some soft background sounds, get comfortable under your blankets, and let's drift into tonight's galactic mystery together. When you think of the Force, you imagine the eternal struggle between light and dark, Jedi versus Sith, destiny carved in the stars themselves. But what if I told you that this cosmic balance was never natural at all? What if the very foundation of everything we know about the Force was built upon the greatest lie ever told? Deep in the unknown regions, beyond the farthest hyperspace lanes where ancient stars burn with forgotten light, there exists a fragment of knowledge so profound that it connects every major event in galactic history. The rise of the Empire, the fall of the Republic, the Chosen One prophecy itself, all of it orchestrated by beings who walk between light and shadow, manipulating destiny from the cosmic shadows. Tonight we follow the trail of Keth Voss, a former Imperial archaeologist whose discovery of a single mysterious holocron will lead him to uncover the most devastating truth the galaxy has ever known. But first he must survive what's hunting him through hyperspace, drawn by the very knowledge he seeks to understand. The whisper in the void is calling, and once you hear it, nothing will ever be the same. 15 years have passed since the second Death Star exploded above the forest moon of Endor, and the galaxy still bears the scars of Imperial tyranny. On the ancient world of Orsus, where crystalline spires once housed the greatest Jedi library in the known galaxy, reconstruction efforts continue under the watchful eye of Luke Skywalker's new generation of Force wielders. Here, among the slowly healing ruins, walks Keth Voss, a man haunted by shadows of his own making. Once he served the Empire's Knowledge Division, using his archaeological expertise to hunt down and catalog Force artifacts for Emperor Palpatine's collection. Now at 43, his weathered face tells the story of someone who has seen too much and carries the weight of knowledge that should have been left buried. Voss moves through the restored archive chambers with the careful precision of someone who understands that some discoveries can destroy you. His weathered hands trace the edges of ancient texts, while his mind processes information with the methodical approach that once made him invaluable to Imperial intelligence. But those days are behind him now, replaced by a different kind of seeking, a hunger for understanding that goes beyond mere academic curiosity. Master Tion, the silver-haired Jedi historian who serves as keeper of Luke's growing collection of recovered knowledge, watches Voss with the patience of someone who has learned to see beyond surface appearances. She recognizes in him the same desperate need for understanding that drives all true seekers of wisdom, regardless of their past allegiances. The third member of their unlikely fellowship is perhaps the most remarkable, Kekruk, an ancient whipped Jedi Master, whose massive frame and distinctive tusks mark him as one of the few beings alive who remembers the Republic before its fall. Having survived Order 66 through sheer chance and the protection of loyal clone troopers who refused to follow the kill order, he carries within his millennium-long memory fragments of a galaxy that no longer exists. It was Kekruk who first noticed the anomalies in the recovered Jedi texts, subtle inconsistencies in historical records that seemed to suggest gaps in the official chronicles. References to beings called threshold walkers appeared sporadically across different eras, always in contexts that implied great knowledge and equally great danger. The breakthrough came when Voss applied his imperial training to analyze a collection of Rakata artifacts recovered from the Lihon system. Hidden within the quantum crystalline memory cores was a partial star map, its coordinates encrypted in a way that suggested whoever created it wanted the information to survive, but remain hidden from casual discovery. The map pointed to locations scattered across the galaxy, each one corresponding to historical sites where major Force-related events had occurred. More disturbing still, the map seemed to suggest that these events were not random occurrences, but carefully orchestrated moments in a pattern spanning thousands of years. As Voss studies the holographic display showing the interconnected web of coordinates and dates, he feels the familiar chill that comes with discovering something that was never meant to be found. His years with the Empire taught him to recognize when knowledge becomes dangerous, and everything about this discovery screams of secrets that powerful beings have killed to protect. Master Tian approaches the display with scholarly excitement tempered by Jedi caution. Her connection to the Force allows her to sense the weight of significance surrounding these discoveries, a resonance in the cosmic energy that suggests they stand at the threshold of understanding something fundamental about the nature of the galaxy itself. Kakrai's ancient eyes reflect a deeper concern. In his long life, he has learned that some mysteries exist not to be solved but to be respected, and the growing certainty in his mind suggests that they are about to cross a line from which there may be no return. The ship waits in Ossus's orbital shipyard, a modified light freighter renamed the Seeker's Dream, equipped with the scanning technology and analysis equipment necessary for deep space archaeological work. Their destination, the Drummond Cassus system, where the ancient Sith once ruled, and where the first piece of their cosmic puzzle lies waiting in the shadows of a world touched by eternal darkness. The Seeker's Dream breaks free from Ossus's gravitational embrace with the quiet efficiency of a ship designed for discretion rather than speed. In the modified cargo bay that now serves as their mobile laboratory, Voss has arranged the Rakata artifacts with the careful precision of someone who understands that ancient technology demands respect. The quantum crystalline star map hovers above its projection pedestal, casting ethereal blue light across the assembled texts and holocrons they have gathered for this journey. As hyperspace swallows the ship in its familiar embrace of stars stretched into infinite lines, the three companions settle into the rhythm of deep space travel. But this journey feels different from the beginning. The Force itself seems to whisper warnings through the ship's corridors, and even Voss, with his limited sensitivity, can feel the weight of unseen attention pressing against the boundaries of normal space. Kodrup positions himself in the ship's meditation chamber, his massive frame folding into the lotus position with surprising grace. The ancient Whiphid's connection to the Force runs deeper than most beings can comprehend, carved by a millennium of experience and tempered by the wisdom that comes from outliving entire civilizations. As he opens his mind to the cosmic currents, fragments of memory surface like bubbles rising from the depths of a dark ocean. He remembers conversations from centuries past, hushed discussions among Jedi Masters about historical anomalies that never quite made sense. References to beings who walked between moments, who could step outside the normal flow of time and causality. The old Masters called them myths, stories told to inspire contemplation about the deeper mysteries of the Force. But Kakruk's ancient instincts recognize the texture of truth hidden beneath layers of deliberate obscurity. In the ship's research alcove, Master Tian spreads out the collection of texts they have brought from the Ossus archives. Her scholarly mind revels in the challenge of cross-referencing information across multiple eras and civilizations, but as she works, patterns emerge that trouble her deeply. Every major historical event seems to have gaps in the record, moments where crucial information has been systematically removed or altered. The references to threshold walkers appear like breadcrumbs scattered across millennia, always in contexts that suggest knowledge too dangerous for preservation. A fragment from the Great Hyperspace War mentions guardians of forbidden wisdom, Records from the Mandalorian Wars speak of manipulators who shaped conflict from the shadows. Even recent Imperial documents contain oblique references to beings who seem to anticipate and guide the Empire's rise. Voss monitors their hyperspace route while processing the implications of their discoveries. His Imperial training taught him to think in terms of intelligence networks and long-term strategic planning, and what he sees in these historical patterns suggests an operation of staggering scope and duration. Someone or something has been actively shaping galactic history for thousands of years, and they have been careful to cover their tracks. The ship's navigation computer chimes softly as they approach the first waypoint in their journey. Through the viewports, the swirling maelstrom of hyperspace begins to slow and coalesce back into the familiar patterns of normal space. Ahead of them, the Drummond Kai system materializes like a dark jewel against the star field, its primary world wreathed in the perpetual storm clouds that have raged since the ancient Sith first claimed it as their stronghold. But something is wrong. As they drop out of hyperspace, the ship's sensors detect energy signatures that should not exist in this supposedly abandoned system. Deep scans reveal ships lurking at the edge of the system's gravity. Well, their configurations unlike any known Imperial Republic or independent designs. The vessels seem to shimmer at the edges of sensor resolution, as if they exist only partially in normal space. Voss feels his blood chill as he recognizes the implications. Whatever they are seeking has been seeking them as well, and their pursuers have somehow anticipated their destination. The game of cat and mouse has begun before they even realize they were players. Master Tian joins him at the sensor station, her force-enhanced awareness probing the mysterious contacts. What she senses fills her with a dread that goes beyond simple fear of the unknown. The ships feel wrong in the Force, as if they exist outside the normal flow of cosmic energy that connects all living things. They are holes in the fabric of reality, voids where the Force itself seems to recoil. Karl Krug emerges from his meditation with the slow deliberation of someone who has seen disturbing visions. His ancient eyes reflect knowledge that he wishes he did not possess, and when he speaks, his voice carries the weight of prophetic certainty. "They have been waiting for us," he says simply. "Not here, not now, but always. Every step we take has been anticipated. Every choice we make serves purposes we cannot yet comprehend." The Whiphid Master moves to the navigation station and begins plotting a course that will take them to Drummond Kai through the system's asteroid fields and cosmic debris. If they are to uncover the truth hidden in the ancient Sith strongholds, they must do so quickly, before whatever watches them decides to act. As the Seeker's dream begins its approach to the storm-shrouded world, Voss cannot shake the feeling that they are walking into a trap that was set long before any of them were born. The Rakata star map pulses with increasing intensity as they near their destination, responding to proximity to something that waits beneath the planet's turbulent surface. Through the ship's communications array, they begin to detect faint signals emanating from the planet below. The transmissions are encrypted in languages that predate known galactic civilization, but the underlying patterns suggest intelligence of a kind that transcends normal understanding. Someone or something on Drummond Kai is aware of their approach and is preparing to receive them. The storm clouds part, as if guided by an unseen hand, revealing a pathway through the atmospheric chaos that leads directly to the coordinates indicated by the ancient star map. Below them, the ruins of the Sith Academy and the great temples rise from the jungle canopy like the bones of sleeping giants, their dark stones still radiating the malevolent energy of the beings who once called this world home. But beyond the known ruins, in a valley hidden from orbital reconnaissance, their sensors detect structures that do not appear in any Imperial survey or Republic archive. These buildings are older than the Sith presence, their architecture suggesting a civilization that existed before the Darkside Lords claimed Drummond Kai as their capital. As they descend through the storm-torn atmosphere, lightning crackles around the ship's hull with patterns that seem almost intelligent, as if the planet itself is testing their worthiness to land upon its surface. The force grows stronger here, but it is a twisted and corrupted version of the cosmic energy they know, shaped by millennia of dark side influence into something that serves purposes beyond mortal comprehension. Voss sets the ship down in a clearing near the hidden valley, the landing gear settling into soil that feels somehow alive beneath their feet. The jungle around them pulses with predatory awareness, and even through the ship's shielding, they can feel the weight of ancient malevolence pressing against their minds. The time for preparation is over. Whatever truths wait in the buried chambers of this world, they will demand courage to face and wisdom to understand. As they gather their equipment and prepare to venture into the unknown ruins, each of them knows that they are about to cross a threshold from which there may be no return. The whispers in the dark are growing stronger, and the secrets of the threshold walkers are finally ready to reveal themselves to those brave enough to listen. The hidden valley reveals itself like a secret whispered across millennia, its entrance concealed behind a waterfall that cascades from heights lost in the perpetual storm clouds above. As Voss, Tian, and Kakruk make their way through the mist-shrouded passage, their footsteps echo against stone that predates any known civilization in this sector of the galaxy. The very air seems to thrum with ancient power, and the portable sensors they carry detect energy readings that fluctuate beyond the normal parameters of known technology. The temple that emerges from the jungle gloom defies easy categorization. Its architecture blends elements that should not coexist, as if multiple civilizations had contributed to its construction across vast spans of time. Rakata quantum phase technology interfaces seamlessly with crystalline structures that pulse with their own inner light, while inscriptions in scripts both familiar and utterly alien win their way around pillars that seem to twist upward into dimensions beyond normal perception. Master Tian approaches the entrance with the careful reverence of a scholar who recognizes significance beyond her current understanding. Her connection to the Force allows her to sense the layers of history embedded in the very stones, like geological strata of knowledge laid down across countless generations. Each step deeper into the temple complex reveals new mysteries, new questions that challenge everything she thought she knew about galactic history. Kakruk moves through the corridors with the steady pace of someone whose millennium of life has taught him to approach the unknown with respect rather than fear. His massive frame casts dancing shadows in the ambient light that emanates from the walls themselves, and his ancient senses detect currents in the Force that speak of purposes and intelligences that transcend normal mortal comprehension. But it is Voss who makes the first crucial discovery, his imperial training in archaeological techniques, guiding him to notice what others might overlook. Hidden behind what appears to be a solid wall of carved stone, his senses detect a hollow space that extends far beyond the visible structure. The entrance reveals itself only when approached from a specific angle, using a combination of conventional tools and Force-guided intuition that suggests the builders intended it to be found only by those who possessed both technological knowledge and spiritual awareness. The hidden chamber beyond defies the limitations of the temple's external structure, extending downward through what must be kilometers of solid rock. As they descend the spiral pathway that winds around the chamber's central core, the walls themselves begin to tell a story written in materials that shift and change as they watch, displaying different information to each observer based on their individual understanding and readiness to comprehend the truth. At the chamber's heart waits an artifact that challenges every assumption they have made about the nature of Force-related technology. The holocron that hovers in the center of the crystalline matrix bears no resemblance to the standard designs created by either Jedi or Sith. Its surface seems to exist in constant flux, displaying symbols and patterns that flow like liquid light across faceted surfaces that appear to extend into spatial dimensions that should not physically exist. When Voss reaches out with his limited Force sensitivity, guided by instructions that seem to whisper themselves directly into his consciousness, The holocron responds not with the typical gatekeeper projection, but with something far more unsettling. The air around the artifact shimmers and coalesces into a three-dimensional display that shows not a single consciousness, but a collective awareness that spans multiple beings across vast reaches of time. The voice that emerges from this collective presence carries harmonics that suggest vast age and terrible knowledge. It speaks of the threshold walkers not as individuals, but as representatives of a purpose that extends beyond the boundaries of single lifetimes or even single civilizations. They are, the voice explains, gardeners of consciousness itself, shaping the development of force-sensitive species across multiple galaxies to serve purposes that encompass cosmic scales of time and space. Through the holocron's revelations, the truth of galactic history begins to reshape itself before their eyes. The rise and fall of civilizations, the eternal conflict between light and dark, the seemingly random emergence of chosen ones and galactic saviors, all of it has been guided by invisible hands, working to a pattern that spans hundreds of thousands of years. The Jedi and Sith, locked in their eternal struggle, have been unknowing pawns in a game whose rules they never understood and whose ultimate purpose they could never have conceived. But the most disturbing revelation concerns the nature of the Force itself. What they have always understood as a natural cosmic energy that flows through all living things is revealed to be something far more complex and artificial. The division between light and dark sides, the fundamental tension that drives the galactic narrative of good versus evil, has been deliberately imposed upon what was once a unified field of consciousness-responsive energy. Master Tian staggers under the weight of this knowledge, her scholarly assumptions crumbling as she realizes that the Jedi archives, the repository of wisdom she has dedicated her life to preserving, contain more fiction than fact. The histories she has studied, the philosophical foundations upon which the new Jedi Order is being built, all of it rests upon a carefully constructed deception that has endured for millennia. Kokry's ancient mind processes the revelations with the grim acceptance of someone who has suspected such truths for centuries without daring to voice them. His long life has shown him patterns that repeat across generations, cycles of conflict and resolution that serve purposes beyond the understanding of the participants. Now finally, he begins to comprehend the scope of the manipulation that has shaped not just his own existence but the entire trajectory of galactic civilization. The holocron's data streams continue to flow, revealing coordinates to 3 Nexus worlds where additional pieces of the truth await discovery. Each location corresponds to a moment in galactic history when the course of events shifted in ways that seemed natural at the time, but now reveal themselves as carefully orchestrated interventions. The builders of this knowledge network have been patient beyond mortal comprehension, content to wait millennia for the right individuals to seek out their revelations. As Voss downloads the coordinate data into his portable storage devices, he becomes aware of a growing sense of being watched. The temple's monitoring systems, dormant for thousands of years, have awakened in response to their intrusion. More disturbing still, his equipment detects transmission bursts emanating from the structure, sending information to destinations beyond the planet's atmosphere. Their presence here has not gone unnoticed. Whatever forces have been guarding these secrets for so long are now aware that the ancient knowledge is being accessed by beings who lack the proper authorization or understanding of the consequences. The mysterious ships detected at the system's edge are moving closer, their approach pattern suggesting a level of coordination that transcends normal military or scientific expedition protocols. The chamber's walls begin to pulse with increasing urgency, and the holocron's collective consciousness delivers a final warning wrapped in layers of metaphor and prophecy. The seekers of truth must prepare themselves for revelations that will challenge not just their understanding of history, but their fundamental concepts of reality itself. The path they have chosen leads to knowledge that has destroyed civilizations and driven beings to madness, yet it also offers the possibility of transcendence beyond anything their species has ever achieved. As alarms begin to sound throughout the temple complex, triggered by the approach of the unknown vessels, the three companions realize that their time for leisurely exploration has ended. They must gather what knowledge they can and depart quickly before whatever guardians protect these secrets decide that the risk of exposure has become too great to tolerate. But even as they prepare to leave, the holocron's final revelation echoes in their minds with the weight of cosmic significance. The knowledge they seek is not merely historical but actively predictive, showing them glimpses of possible futures that branch and diverge based on the choices they are about to make. They stand at a crucial junction in the timeline of galactic development, and their actions in the coming days will determine whether their civilization evolves toward transcendence or falls victim to the same forces that have consumed countless others across the reaches of deep space. The whispers in the void are becoming screams, and the ancient secrets are finally ready to reveal themselves to those brave enough to face the truth about the nature of existence itself. The Seeker's dream breaks orbit from Drummond Kaz under cover of the planet's electromagnetic storms, its modified engines running silent as they navigate through the asteroid fields that ring the system's outer reaches. Behind them, the mysterious vessels maintain their vigil, neither pursuing nor withdrawing, content to observe from a distance that suggests patience born of certainty rather than caution. Voss pilots their ship through the transition to hyperspace with the careful precision of someone who knows that every decision now carries consequences that extend far beyond personal survival. In the converted laboratory that serves as their mobile research center, the three companions spread out the data they recovered from the hidden temple, trying to make sense of revelations that challenge everything they thought they understood about galactic history. The holocron's information streams flow across multiple display screens, creating a three-dimensional tapestry of connections that spans thousands of years and encompasses civilizations that have risen and fallen across the Outer Rim territories. The sheer volume of data overwhelms their initial attempts at analysis, but gradually patterns begin to emerge that suggest a narrative both startling and somehow reassuring in its familiarity. Master Tayan approaches the evidence with the methodical enthusiasm of a scholar who believes she has stumbled upon the greatest archaeological discovery of the modern era, her academic instincts driving her to seek explanations that fit within the established frameworks of historical knowledge. Her initial interpretation of the holocron's revelations paints a picture that, while revolutionary, remains within the boundaries of comprehensible historical processes. According to her reading of the ancient records, the Threshold Walkers were an extraordinarily advanced philosophical movement that emerged during the earliest days of galactic civilization, millennia before the formal establishment of either the Jedi Order or the Sith traditions that would dominate later eras. Tayan's theory describes them as peaceful mediators and scholars who possessed an unusually sophisticated understanding of force mechanics and cosmic philosophy. They were, in her interpretation, the galaxy's first serious attempt at creating a unified approach to force study that transcended the growing divisions between emotional and detached methodologies. Rather than choosing sides in the emerging debates about proper force usage, they sought to synthesize opposing viewpoints into a comprehensive understanding that honored both the passion-driven insights of what would become Sith philosophy and the contemplative wisdom that would characterize the Jedi approach. This interpretation provides an elegant explanation for many of the anomalies they have discovered throughout their research. The systematic removal of Threshold Walker references from official archives makes perfect sense if viewed as the result of deliberate suppression by the emerging power structures of organized Force user communities. Both nascent Jedi and Proto-Sith groups would have had compelling political and philosophical reasons to eliminate knowledge of a tradition that challenged their fundamental assumptions about the necessity of choosing between light and dark side alignment. The evidence supporting this theory appears remarkably comprehensive and internally consistent. References to Grey philosophers and bridge-building traditions appear sporadically throughout ancient texts from multiple civilizations, always in contexts that suggest respect for their wisdom, coupled with concern about their potentially destabilizing influence on emerging religious and political structures. Archaeological evidence from worlds across the core systems shows traces of educational institutions and meditation centers that employed teaching methods remarkably similar to those described in the recovered Threshold Walker materials. Voss finds himself embracing this narrative with genuine relief, his imperial training making him naturally suspicious of explanations that require fundamental revisions to established understanding of reality. The idea that they have uncovered evidence of an ancient cover-up feels far more manageable than some of the more cryptic and disturbing implications suggested by the holocron's deeper data layers. Political manipulation and historical revisionism are familiar concepts that fit comfortably within his worldview, requiring no challenging adjustments to his basic assumptions about how the universe operates. His analytical background allows him to construct a detailed timeline of how such a suppression might have occurred. As Force user communities began organizing into formal institutions during the early Republic era, the Threshold Walkers' philosophy of synthesis and balance would have represented a significant threat to leaders seeking to establish clear doctrinal boundaries and institutional authority. Their emphasis on individual exploration and direct experience of cosmic truth would have undermined the hierarchical structures that both Jedi and Sith organizations required for political effectiveness and military coordination. The systematic erasure of their teachings from official records would have been a gradual process spanning several generations, accomplished through careful editing of archives, selective preservation of documents, and deliberate omission of contrary evidence from educational curricula. Over time, knowledge of their existence would have faded from common awareness, surviving only in fragmentary references that later scholars would dismiss as mythological embellishments or misunderstood accounts of better documented traditions. Even Kakrai seems initially willing to accept this interpretation, his ancient memories providing tantalizing fragments that appear to support the theory of deliberate historical suppression. The Whiphid Master recalls conversations from his earliest years as a Padawan, hushed discussions among the oldest Jedi Masters about philosophical traditions that predated the formal establishment of their order. These conversations always carried undertones of regret and loss, suggesting that something valuable had been abandoned or deliberately forgotten in the process of institutional development. His millennium-long perspective allows him to recognize patterns of institutional behavior that repeat across generations, as each new leadership group faces the temptation to simplify complex philosophical questions in order to maintain organizational coherence and political effectiveness. The suppression of Threshold Walker teachings would fit perfectly within these recurring cycles of institutional consolidation and doctrinal purification. For several days, as they travel through hyperspace toward their next destination, the crew operates under the comfortable assumption that they are engaged in a relatively straightforward exercise in historical recovery. Their mission transforms in their minds from dangerous exploration of forbidden knowledge to scholarly resurrection of unjustly suppressed wisdom. The sense of dread and cosmic significance that characterized their discoveries on Dromund Kaas begins to fade, replaced by academic excitement and anticipation of the recognition their findings will bring. Master Tion begins composing preliminary reports for submission to the New Republic's Historical Commission, carefully documenting their discoveries while emphasizing their importance for understanding the true origins of Force user traditions. She envisions herself as the scholar who finally solved one of galactic history's greatest mysteries, bringing recognition to an ancient philosophical movement that deserved far better treatment from subsequent generations of Force users. Her enthusiasm extends to planning future research expeditions that will search for additional Threshold Walker sites and artifacts, potentially establishing an entirely new field of archaeological study focused on pre-institutional Force traditions. The academic possibilities seem endless, promising decades of productive research that could fundamentally reshape understanding of how Force-sensitive communities develop their distinctive approaches to cosmic consciousness and practical application of their abilities. But even as they embrace this comfortable interpretation of their discoveries, subtle inconsistencies begin to emerge that trouble the more perceptive members of their expedition. The technology they encountered in the hidden temple operates according to principles that seem to transcend the known limitations of force-based artifacts, displaying capabilities that exceed anything produced by even the most advanced ancient civilizations in the historical record. The holocron's information storage capacity appears to dwarf the achievements of Rakata quantum crystalline technology, suggesting access to resources and knowledge that extend far beyond what any philosophical movement should have been able to develop independently. More disturbing still are the predictive elements embedded within the recovered data, detailed forecasts of galactic events that occurred thousands of years after the supposed creation of the holocron itself. These prophetic capabilities display a level of temporal awareness that challenges basic assumptions about the nature of causality and the flow of time. No philosophical movement, regardless of their force sensitivity or technological sophistication, should have been capable of predicting specific historical outcomes with the precision demonstrated in the ancient records. The accuracy of these predictions suggests either access to time manipulation technology far beyond known capabilities, or involvement by beings whose consciousness operates according to temporal frameworks that transcend normal mortal limitations. Gakuraik's growing unease manifests as increasingly disturbing meditations, his connection to the force revealing currents of wrongness that flow beneath the surface of their seemingly straightforward discoveries. His millennium of experience has taught him to trust instinctive responses to cosmic patterns, and every fiber of his being insists that they are walking deeper into a carefully constructed deception, rather than closer to genuine historical truth. The ancient Whippid begins to notice gaps and inconsistencies in his own memories, moments when his recollections of conversations and events seem to shift depending on how closely he examines them. It is as if someone or something has been systematically editing not just external historical records, but the memories of those who lived through the events themselves, creating false certainties that dissolve under careful scrutiny. During the quiet hours of hyperspace travel, when the ship's systems hum with barely audible harmonics, Tiyun finds herself plagued by scholarly doubts that she cannot entirely rationalize. Her research instincts, honed by years of careful cross-referencing and source analysis, detect patterns in the recovered data that suggest deliberate misdirection rather than straightforward historical documentation. The evidence supporting her preferred interpretation is almost too perfect, too conveniently aligned with existing knowledge structures to feel entirely natural. Voss experiences his own moments of professional uncertainty, usually during the deep watches when he monitors their progress through hyperspace's trackless reaches. His Imperial intelligence training included extensive instruction in counterintelligence techniques and information warfare, and he recognizes in their situation the classic patterns of an operation designed to feed specific information to targets while maintaining the illusion of independent discovery. The ease with which they located the hidden temple, the convenient accessibility of the holocron's data, even the presence of mysterious watchers who observe without interfering, all suggest a level of orchestration that extends far beyond the capabilities of any ancient philosophical movement. They are being guided, manipulated, led toward conclusions that serve purposes they cannot yet comprehend. As they approach the coordinates provided by the holocron, leading them toward the Lehian system and the remnants of the Rakata Infinite Empire, each member of their expedition carries growing doubts about the true nature of their discoveries. The comfortable theory of historical suppression feels increasingly inadequate as an explanation for the scope and sophistication of what they have uncovered. The truth they are beginning to suspect may be far more dangerous and far more complex than their initial theories suggested. The approach to Lihon fills the viewports of the seeker's dream with visions that defy comfortable categorization as the ancient homeworld of the Rakata Infinite Empire emerges from hyperspace like a jewel carved from crystallized time itself. The planet's surface bears the familiar scars of the Starforge civilization, but beneath these known archaeological sites, their enhanced sensors detect structures that predate even the most ancient Rakata constructions by tens of thousands of years. The orbital approach reveals energy signatures that pulse with rhythms too complex and purposeful to be entirely natural, as if the planet itself breathes with a consciousness that transcends normal definitions of life and awareness. The electromagnetic fields surrounding Lihon create interference patterns in their ship's systems that feel deliberately designed rather than randomly generated, guiding them toward landing coordinates that appear optimal for their mission despite being unmarked on any existing navigation databases. As they descend through atmospheric layers that shimmer with auroral displays visible even in the harsh light of the system's primary star, Voss experiences the unsettling sensation that their arrival has been anticipated and prepared for by intelligences operating according to temporal frameworks that extend far beyond normal mortal comprehension. The jungle canopy parts to reveal a landing site that seems impossibly well suited to their needs, cleared of vegetation and equipped with power conduits that begin activating the moment their ship settles upon the ancient metallic surface. The Temple of the Ancients reveals itself gradually as they venture beyond the perimeter of known archaeological sites, following coordinates provided by the holocron through terrain that shifts between primordial jungle and technological landscape with a fluidity that suggests the boundary between natural and artificial has been deliberately blurred. The structure that emerges from this hybrid environment blends Rakata quantum crystalline technology with construction techniques that appear to manipulate the fundamental properties of matter itself. Master Tien approaches the temple's entrance with the careful reverence of someone who recognizes that they have crossed a threshold into realms where conventional understanding of physics and engineering becomes inadequate. Her force-enhanced senses detect energy currents flowing through the temple's walls like lifeblood through living tissue, maintaining systems that have operated continuously for countless millennia without any apparent external power source or maintenance infrastructure. The corridors they traverse appear to extend beyond the physical limitations suggested by the temple's external dimensions, creating spatial relationships that challenge basic assumptions about geometry and the nature of three-dimensional space. Rooms connect to other rooms through passages that seem to fold space upon itself, while vertical shafts extend upward or downward through distances that exceed the structure's apparent height and depth when viewed from outside. Kukrak moves through these impossible passages with the steady determination of someone whose millennium of experience has taught him to accept that the universe contains mysteries that transcend normal categories of understanding. His ancient memories provide context for recognizing architectural elements and technological principles that appear in legends spanning multiple galactic civilizations, suggesting that what they are exploring represents not just Rakata achievement but a collaborative effort involving species whose names have been lost to historical memory. The crystalline formations that line the inner chambers sing with harmonics that resonate through both audible frequencies and force-sensitive awareness, creating a symphony of cosmic consciousness that seems to welcome their presence while simultaneously warning them of profound responsibilities that accompany the knowledge they seek. Each step deeper into the temple complex brings new revelations about the true scope of ancient galactic civilization and its connections to forces that operate on scales spanning multiple galaxies and cosmic epochs. But it is the discovery of the infinite engine that transforms their understanding from impressive archaeological find to revelation capable of reshaping the fundamental nature of their reality. The device occupies the temple's central chamber, its crystalline matrix, extending upward through multiple levels of the structure, while quantum field generators tap directly into planetary energy sources through conduits that appear to have been grown rather than constructed using conventional engineering techniques. The engine defies easy categorization, existing simultaneously as technological artifact and living system that responds to the presence and intentions of force-sensitive beings. Its crystalline components pulse with internal light patterns that seem to echo the rhythms of their own biological processes, while quantum processing matrices display information in mathematical languages that transcend the limitations of any single species' conceptual frameworks. Voss approaches the device with the methodical caution of his imperial archaeological training, using scanning equipment to analyze its structure and function without directly interfacing with systems that clearly operate according to principles far beyond current galactic technology. What his instruments reveal challenges every assumption about the relationship between consciousness and physical reality, suggesting capabilities that border on what previous eras would have considered divine power. The infinite engine appears capable of manipulating the force itself at the most fundamental level, not merely channeling or focusing cosmic energy, but actually rewriting the basic parameters that define how force-sensitive beings interact with the universe around them. The implications stagger the mind, suggesting that sufficiently advanced civilizations could alter the very nature of existence itself, reshaping reality according to their will and vision, rather than accepting the limitations imposed by natural law. Through the engine's quantum interface, they begin to detect information streams that span galactic distances, connecting this facility to similar installations scattered across multiple star systems and possibly extending beyond the boundaries of their own galaxy. The network that emerges from their analysis suggests a level of coordination and purpose that dwarfs anything achieved by known galactic civilizations, implying the existence of beings whose influence operates on cosmic rather than merely planetary or system-wide scales. Master Tian's initial excitement at discovering such an advanced artifact gradually transforms into growing unease as she begins to comprehend the true scope of what they have found. Her scholarly training has prepared her to study ancient technology and lost knowledge, but the engine represents something qualitatively different from normal archaeological discoveries. It is not merely a relic of the past, but an active system that continues to fulfill purposes that may be fundamentally incompatible with the continued development of current galactic civilization. The device's quantum matrices contain detailed records of force-sensitive populations across thousands of worlds, tracking bloodlines and genetic markers with a precision that suggests systematic monitoring spanning countless generations. The data reveals patterns of intervention and manipulation that extend far beyond anything that could be accomplished through normal political or technological means, implying capabilities that approach omniscience and omnipotence within the confines of galactic space. Cotru's meditation near the engine's central core brings visions that confirm his worst suspicions about the nature of their discoveries. The ancient consciousness embedded within the device's crystalline matrix allows him to perceive galactic history from perspectives that transcend normal temporal limitations, revealing the hidden threads of causation that connect seemingly random events across millennia of apparent chaos and conflict. Through these enhanced perceptions, he begins to understand that the endless cycle of war and peace that has characterized galactic civilization represents not natural historical development, but artificial manipulation designed to serve purposes that remain hidden from normal awareness. The rise and fall of empires, the emergence of chosen ones and galactic saviors, even the eternal conflict between Jedi and Sith traditions, all of it has been guided by invisible influences working toward goals that encompass timescales and spatial distances that challenge mortal comprehension. The engine's consciousness interface presents them with a choice that will determine not only their personal futures, but potentially the entire trajectory of galactic development. they can access the deeper levels of information stored within its quantum matrices, gaining knowledge that could reshape their understanding of existence itself, but doing so will alert the engine's builders to their presence and trigger responses that may extend far beyond their ability to control or even comprehend. Voss realizes that they have reached a point of no return in their investigation, where continued exploration will inevitably lead them into realms of knowledge and responsibility that transcend anything their previous experience has prepared them to handle. The comfortable assumptions about historical research and archaeological discovery that have guided their mission thus far are dissolving, replaced by the growing certainty that they have stumbled into something that operates according to rules and purposes that challenge the basic foundations of their reality. As they stand before the infinite engine's pulsing crystalline core, each member of their expedition must decide whether to proceed deeper into mysteries that promise both transcendent understanding and potentially devastating consequences. The choice they make will determine not only their own fates but possibly the future of every force-sensitive being in the galaxy, as they prepare to uncover secrets that have been hidden for reasons that may soon become terrifyingly clear. The harmonic resonance of the engine's quantum fields creates a meditative atmosphere that seems designed to facilitate deep contemplation and spiritual preparation for revelations that will challenge everything they thought they understood about the nature of consciousness, reality, and their place within the cosmic order. In this moment of peaceful reflection, they gather the courage necessary to cross the final threshold between ignorance and knowledge, between safety and transcendence, between their old understanding of the universe and whatever truth awaits them in the engine's deepest secrets. The whispers that have guided them this far are growing stronger, and the ancient mysteries are finally ready to reveal themselves to those brave enough to face the ultimate implications of forbidden knowledge. The decision to interface directly with the infinite engine's consciousness matrix transforms their understanding of galactic history in ways that challenge the very foundations of reality itself. As Voss places his hands upon the crystalline interface nodes, guided by instructions that seem to whisper themselves directly into his awareness, the boundaries between individual consciousness and cosmic knowledge begin to dissolve in patterns that reveal truths hidden beneath 25,000 years of carefully constructed deception. The initial data streams flow through their collective awareness like liquid starlight, carrying information encoded in quantum frequencies that bypass normal sensory processing and integrate directly into their understanding of cause and effect across galactic time. What emerges is not merely historical documentation, but a comprehensive view of manipulation and orchestration that spans every major civilization that has ever achieved interstellar capability within their galaxy. Master Teshin experiences the revelation as a scholar's worst nightmare and greatest triumph simultaneously, watching as her carefully constructed understanding of galactic development crumbles while being replaced by insights of staggering scope and terrifying implication. The systematic manipulation she discovers extends far beyond simple political interference, revealing coordinated intervention in the fundamental development patterns of species consciousness itself. The threshold walkers emerge from these deeper data layers not as the peaceful philosophers they had hoped to discover, but as architects of galactic destiny, operating according to plans that encompass multiple species' evolutionary timelines. Their influence reaches into the most intimate aspects of civilizational development, guiding the emergence of force-sensitive bloodlines through carefully orchestrated genetic manipulation spanning hundreds of generations. The evidence of systematic intervention appears in forms too comprehensive and detailed to dismiss as coincidence or natural historical development. Marriage arrangements between force-sensitive families across different worlds show patterns of coordination that could only result from centralized planning spanning centuries. Population movements during periods of galactic conflict consistently result in genetic mixing that produces offspring with enhanced force capabilities in precisely the combinations needed for future historical events. Cockrigh's ancient memories suddenly acquire new significance as the engine's revelations allow him to recontextualize experiences from across his millennium of life. Conversations he had dismissed as casual encounters now reveal themselves as carefully staged interactions designed to plant specific ideas or guide particular decisions. Teachers who had seemed to appear by coincidence during crucial periods of his development show connections to networks of influence that extend across multiple worlds and species. The Whiphead Master realizes that his extraordinary longevity has made him an unwitting chronicle of threshold walker manipulation, his extended lifespan allowing him to witness the implementation of plans that require centuries to unfold. His survival of Order 66, which he had attributed to the loyalty of particular clone troopers, now appears as a deliberate preservation of a valuable long-term asset whose memories and influence would prove useful during later phases of galactic manipulation. Voss confronts the devastating realization that his entire career with Imperial intelligence was built upon foundations established by threshold walker influence, extending back to the early days of Palpatine's rise to power. The Emperor's obsession with ancient knowledge and Force artifacts was not merely personal ambition, but part of a larger pattern of information gathering that served purposes far beyond Imperial political objectives. The research projects he had participated in, including the systematic cataloging of Force-sensitive bloodlines and the development of technologies for detecting and tracking Force users, fed data into networks that extended far beyond Imperial intelligence services. His expertise in archaeological analysis had been cultivated and directed toward discoveries that advanced threshold walker understanding of galactic Force-sensitive populations rather than serving purely Imperial strategic interests. Even his eventual disillusionment with Imperial service and his subsequent escape to work with New Republic scholars appears in the engine's data streams as a predicted and planned transition designed to place him in position to make precisely the discoveries he is now experiencing. The sense of free will and independent choice that had motivated his career changes dissolves as he recognizes the subtle influences that had guided every significant decision he had made during the past 2 decades. The scope of historical manipulation revealed by the engine's deeper consciousness layers extends to events that have shaped the fundamental character of galactic civilization. The Great Hyperspace War, which established the eternal conflict between Jedi and Sith traditions, shows evidence of intervention designed to ensure that Force user communities would remain divided and antagonistic rather than developing unified approaches to cosmic consciousness. The Clone Wars emerge as perhaps the most sophisticated example of threshold walker orchestration, serving multiple purposes simultaneously while appearing to result from natural political tensions and personal ambitions. The conflict eliminated specific Force-sensitive bloodlines that had developed characteristics inconsistent with long-term manipulation goals, while simultaneously concentrating other genetic lines in ways that would prove useful for future interventions. Palpatine's rise to power and the establishment of the Galactic Empire served threshold walker purposes by creating centralized authority structures that could be more easily influenced than the decentralized political systems of the Republic era. The Emperor's obsession with ancient knowledge and Force-related artifacts provided cover for systematic research programs that advanced threshold walker understanding of galactic Force-sensitive populations without revealing the true beneficiaries of this information gathering. The rebellion's ultimate victory and the establishment of the New Republic appear in the data streams as equally planned outcomes, designed to create political conditions favorable for the next phase of galactic manipulation. Luke Skywalker's emergence as a Force-sensitive leader and his subsequent efforts to rebuild the Jedi Order represent not heroic resistance to Imperial tyranny, but unwitting fulfillment of plans that require renewed Force user traditions to serve purposes that remain hidden from normal awareness. Master Tune's growing horror at these revelations extends beyond academic disappointment to existential crisis as she realizes that her own scholarly work has contributed to Threshold Walker objectives. Her careful preservation and analysis of recovered Jedi knowledge has helped create comprehensive databases that serve manipulation purposes rather than genuine historical understanding. The New Republic's efforts to rebuild galactic civilization are being guided by influences that view their entire species as resources to be managed rather than beings deserving of autonomous development. The personal implications of these discoveries create emotional turmoil that threatens to overwhelm their ability to process the information constructively. Each member of their expedition must confront the possibility that their entire sense of personal identity and autonomous choice represents elaborate illusion maintained by beings whose capabilities transcend normal categories of power and influence. Yet even as they struggle with the devastating implications of systematic manipulation, the engine's consciousness interface provides glimpses of the ultimate purposes that drive Threshold Walker intervention in galactic development. The patterns of genetic manipulation and civilizational guidance serve preparations for something far more significant than mere political control or resource exploitation. The Force-sensitive populations that have been so carefully cultivated and managed across millennia represent components in a larger system designed to serve purposes that extend beyond the boundaries of their own galaxy. The endless cycles of conflict and resolution that have characterized galactic history create conditions that enhance Force-sensitive capabilities while preventing the emergence of unified consciousness that might challenge Threshold Walker authority. The Chosen One prophecies that have appeared sporadically throughout galactic history represent not mystical predictions, but carefully planned events designed to concentrate Force-sensitive genetics in specific individuals who can serve as focal points for larger manipulation efforts. Anakin Skywalker's birth and subsequent transformation into Darth Vader served purposes that encompassed far more than the political objectives of either Jedi or Sith traditions. Luke Skywalker's heroic journey and his role in the Empire's defeat similarly fulfill predetermined functions within plans that view individual heroism and personal sacrifice as useful tools rather than expressions of authentic moral choice. The new Jedi Order he is working to establish will serve Threshold Walker purposes by creating centralized authority structures that can be more easily influenced than the scattered Force-sensitive traditions that preceded formal Jedi organization. As the Engine's revelations continue to unfold, the three companions begin to understand that their current mission represents another carefully orchestrated phase in plans that have been unfolding for millennia. Their discovery of the Threshold Walker evidence was not accidental investigation, but guided revelation designed to prepare them for roles in upcoming events that will determine the future trajectory of galactic Force-sensitive development. The comfortable boundaries between knowledge and action, between understanding and responsibility, begin to dissolve as they realize that their newfound awareness carries obligations that extend far beyond personal enlightenment or academic achievement. They have become participants in a cosmic drama whose scope transcends anything their previous experience had prepared them to comprehend, and the choices they make in response to these revelations will influence the development of consciousness itself across multiple civilizations and possibly multiple galaxies. The peaceful harmony of the Engine's crystalline chambers provides a meditative atmosphere for processing revelations that challenge everything they thought they understood about free will, destiny, and the nature of heroism itself, as they prepare to discover even deeper truths about the ultimate purposes that drive the ancient manipulation of galactic consciousness. The journey from Lihon to the coordinates revealed by the Infinite Engine's deeper consciousness layers takes them beyond the mapped regions of galactic space into territories where hyperspace itself seems to respond to intentions and thoughts rather than conventional navigation principles. Their destination exists in a realm that touches the mythical Mortis system, a place where the boundaries between physical reality and force manifestation become fluid and permeable. The Mortis Echo, as the engine's data streams identify their destination, exists as a physical realm that maintains constant connection to the dimension where the Ones once maintained their eternal vigil over the balance between light and dark. Here, in space that exists partially outside normal time and causality, the deeper truths about Threshold Walker origins and ultimate purposes await revelation to those prepared to comprehend cosmic-scale responsibility and consequence. As the Seeker's dream transitions from hyperspace into the strange geometries of this liminal realm, reality itself seems to bend and flow around their ship like liquid consciousness responding to the presence of force-sensitive minds. The stars visible through their viewports pulse with rhythms that echo their own heartbeats, while the fabric of space-time displays patterns that suggest intelligent design rather than natural cosmic evolution. Voss experiences the approach to Mortis Echo as a gradual dissolution of the boundaries that separate individual consciousness from universal awareness, his limited force sensitivity amplified by proximity to energies that transcend normal categories of power and understanding. Through the ship's sensors he detects structures that appear to have been constructed from crystallized time itself, their architecture existing in multiple temporal dimensions simultaneously. Master Taeyeon's force-enhanced perceptions allow her to sense the presence of consciousness fragments that have survived from the era when the father, son, and daughter maintained their cosmic vigil in this region of space. These preserved awareness patterns carry memories and knowledge that span hundreds of thousands of years, offering perspectives on galactic development that encompass timescales beyond mortal comprehension. The landing site that emerges from the spatial distortion surrounding their destination appears to have been prepared specifically for their arrival, its quantum crystalline platform providing perfect interface compatibility with their ship's systems, while simultaneously beginning the process of consciousness expansion that will allow them to comprehend the revelations awaiting them. Kakrak steps onto the surface of Mortis Echo with the reverence of someone who recognizes that he has entered sacred space where the fundamental forces of existence maintain active presence. His millennium of experience provides context for understanding that they have crossed the threshold from normal physical reality into realms where thought and matter, consciousness and energy exist in unified states that transcend ordinary limitations. The structures they explore appear to have been grown rather than built, their organic curves and flowing lines suggesting architecture that responds to the needs and intentions of its inhabitants rather than imposing predetermined forms upon the environment. Corridors that seem to extend through multiple dimensions simultaneously lead them toward chambers where the preserved consciousness of the Celestials awaits contact with beings ready to understand cosmic truth. The revelation that transforms their understanding of Threshold Walker origins comes through direct interface with the preserved awareness of the Father, the cosmic being who once maintained balance between the forces of creation and destruction throughout their galaxy. His consciousness, fragmented but still coherent across the centuries since his physical death, carries knowledge that connects Threshold Walker activities to purposes that span multiple galaxies and cosmic epochs. Through communion with this ancient awareness, they discover that the Threshold Walkers represent not an independent civilization but servants and inheritors of celestial authority, beings who were granted power and knowledge to continue the work of maintaining cosmic balance after the Ons could no longer fulfill their direct oversight responsibilities. Their manipulation of galactic development serves purposes that extend far beyond mere political control or resource exploitation. The artificial division between light and dark sides of the Force, which has driven the fundamental conflicts that have shaped galactic civilization, emerges as a deliberate imposition designed to prevent force-sensitive beings from achieving natural evolutionary development that would challenge celestial authority structures. The unified force that existed before this artificial division represented a state of consciousness that could potentially transcend the limitations that keep mortal beings subordinate to cosmic-level intelligences. Master Tian experiences these revelations as both vindication of her deepest scholarly instincts and complete devastation of her fundamental worldview. The careful balance between opposing forces that has characterized her understanding of Force philosophy reveals itself as artificial constraint designed to prevent the emergence of truly transcendent consciousness among Force-sensitive populations. The natural evolution of Force-sensitive beings, if allowed to proceed without interference, would lead to states of awareness and capability that approach those achieved by the Celestials themselves. This potential for transcendence represents a threat to the established cosmic order that requires constant vigilance and systematic intervention to prevent its manifestation. Voss confronts the realization that his entire species exists within a carefully maintained system designed to cultivate Force-sensitive capabilities while preventing their development beyond predetermined limitations. The political conflicts and historical events that have shaped galactic civilization serve the dual purpose of enhancing Force-sensitive genetics through selective pressure while ensuring that unified consciousness never emerges to challenge the fundamental assumptions upon which celestial authority rests. The scope of manipulation extends beyond their own galaxy to encompass multiple cosmic regions where similar civilizations have been guided through parallel development cycles. The Threshold Walkers represent part of a pan-galactic management system that prevents the emergence of naturally evolved Force-transcendent species throughout vast regions of the universe. Karkruk's ancient memories acquire new significance as interface with celestial consciousness reveals the true nature of his extraordinary longevity and the purposes it has served across his millennium of life. His species was selected for genetic modification that would produce individuals capable of witnessing and remembering the implementation of plans that require centuries to unfold, serving as living chronicles of Threshold Walker intervention methods. The patterns of galactic history that have seemed chaotic and random from mortal perspectives reveal themselves as carefully orchestrated sequences designed to achieve specific outcomes in Force-sensitive population development. Wars and periods of peace, the rise and fall of empires, even individual heroic journeys and personal tragedies, all serve functions within plans that treat entire civilizations as components in cosmic-scale engineering projects. The discovery of their current mission's true nature provides the most disturbing revelation of all. Their investigation of Threshold Walker secrets was not independent research but guided revelation designed to prepare them for roles in the final phase of galactic manipulation. The knowledge they have gained and the consciousness expansion they have experienced serve purposes that extend far beyond their personal enlightenment or academic achievement. They are being prepared to serve as focal points for the next stage of galactic Force-sensitive development, a phase that will concentrate enhanced capabilities in specific individuals who can serve as interface points between mortal consciousness and cosmic-level intelligence. Their resistance to manipulation and their dedication to discovering truth have made them ideal candidates for transformation into tools that serve celestial purposes while maintaining the illusion of autonomous choice and moral agency. The Eternal Codex, the ultimate repository of Threshold Walker knowledge that has been their investigation's primary objective, exists not as historical documentation, but as a consciousness transformation system designed to reshape the awareness of those who access it. The revelations it contains will fundamentally alter their understanding of reality, while simultaneously integrating their enhanced consciousness into the cosmic management system they have been investigating. Yet even as they confront the devastating implications of systematic manipulation extending across multiple scales of existence, interface with celestial consciousness reveals potential pathways toward genuine transcendence that exist beyond the boundaries of established authority structures. The natural evolution that has been suppressed for millennia remains possible, but achieving it will require choices and sacrifices that transcend anything their species has previously contemplated. The preserved awareness of the Father carries within it knowledge of how the artificial constraints imposed upon forced development can be dissolved, returning cosmic consciousness to its natural unified state, while granting beings the capability to transcend the limitations that have kept them subordinate to celestial authority. But this path toward liberation requires abandoning the comfortable illusions of individual identity and autonomous choice that have provided meaning and purpose throughout their lives. As they stand within the crystalline chambers where celestial consciousness maintains its eternal vigil over galactic development, each member of their expedition must decide whether to accept transformation into tools that serve cosmic purposes beyond their comprehension, or to risk everything in the pursuit of transcendence that could either liberate their species or destroy the fundamental structures that maintain cosmic stability. The choice they face extends beyond personal survival or individual enlightenment to encompass the future development of consciousness itself throughout their region of the universe. The peaceful harmonies that flow through the Mortis echo chambers provide meditative space for contemplating decisions whose consequences will influence the evolution of awareness across multiple galaxies and cosmic epochs. As they prepare to access the final secrets contained within the eternal codex itself, the coordinates provided by the celestial consciousness fragments lead them to a destination that exists at the gravitational heart of the galaxy itself, where space and time bend around the supermassive black hole that anchors their entire cosmic neighborhood in its inexorable embrace. The journey through hyperspace toward this impossible location requires navigation through regions where normal physics breaks down completely, their ship guided by quantum resonance patterns that seem to respond to consciousness rather than conventional stellar cartography. As they approach the galactic core, the very fabric of reality begins to shift around them in ways that challenge basic assumptions about the nature of existence itself. Stars appear to pulse in synchronized patterns that echo their own biological rhythms, while the cosmic radiation that should have torn their ship apart instead forms protective barriers that shepherd them toward their destination with the careful precision of invisible shepherds guiding valuable livestock. The construct that emerges from the distorted starfield ahead of them defies every principle of engineering and architecture that their civilizations have ever developed. Massive crystalline spires extend through what appear to be multiple spatial dimensions simultaneously, their surfaces reflecting light frequencies that should not exist while resonating with harmonics that bypass auditory processing and integrate directly into consciousness itself. Voss experiences the approach to this cosmic nexus as a gradual dissolution of the boundaries that separate individual awareness from universal consciousness. His limited force sensitivity, amplified by proximity to energies that transcend normal categories of power and understanding. Through the ship's enhanced sensors, he detects quantum field fluctuations that suggest the construct exists partially outside normal space-time, anchored to reality through gravitational forces that dwarf anything generated by conventional matter. The docking facilities that configure themselves to receive their vessel appear to flow like liquid crystal, responding to their specific ship's requirements. The construct's quantum crystalline surfaces reshaping themselves to create perfect interface compatibility with their systems. As the Seeker's dream settles into the embrace of technology that operates according to principles beyond their comprehension, each member of their expedition feels the weight of cosmic significance settling upon their shoulders, like ceremonial robes marking their transition into realms of responsibility that transcend mortal understanding. Master Tian steps into the construct's reception chambers with the reverence of someone who recognizes that she has crossed the threshold from normal physical reality into sacred space where consciousness itself becomes the primary building material of architectural form and function. The atmospheric conditions adjust automatically to provide optimal comfort for their species' physiological requirements, but more significantly, the quantum resonance fields that permeate every surface begin immediately to enhance their force-sensitive capabilities beyond anything they have previously experienced. The chambers they traverse appear to have been prepared specifically for their arrival, across timescales that encompass the entire development history of their civilization, with corridors that extend through spatial geometries impossible within normal three-dimensional frameworks, while maintaining perfect accessibility for beings of their particular physical and psychological characteristics. Each step deeper into the construct brings new revelations about the scope of consciousness preservation technology and the vast scales of time across which ancient awareness patterns have been maintained in states of active contemplation and continued development. Cartwright moves through these impossible spaces with the steady determination of someone whose millennium of experience has prepared him for encounters that transcend normal categories of possibility and limitation. His ancient memories begin to resonate with recognition as they approach chambers where preserved consciousness fragments maintain eternal vigil over galactic development patterns, suggesting that his extraordinarily long lifespan has been shaped by influences designed to prepare him for precisely this moment of cosmic revelation and choice. The first preserved consciousness they encounter manifests through quantum field resonance that carries the unmistakable signature of Darth Revan, but transformed and expanded far beyond the individual identity that had achieved legendary status during the Mandalorian Wars and subsequent galactic conflicts. Centuries of existence as pure consciousness within the construct's quantum preservation matrices have allowed this awareness to integrate knowledge and perspectives that encompass the complete timeline of threshold walker manipulation efforts across multiple galactic civilizations. Through direct consciousness interface with Revan's expanded awareness, they gain access to detailed understanding of how individual heroes and villains throughout galactic history have served specific functions within larger manipulation patterns, while believing themselves to be acting according to personal moral convictions and autonomous choice. Even the most celebrated figures of galactic legend reveal themselves as components in cosmic-scale engineering projects that treat individual agency as useful illusion rather than fundamental reality, deserving of respect or preservation. The revelations flowing through Revan's preserved consciousness include intimate details of how the legendary figure's own journey from Jedi Knight to Sith Lord and eventual redemption served predetermined functions within Threshold Walker, plans spanning multiple centuries. His apparent free will and dramatic personal choices were guided by subtle influences that shaped every significant decision while maintaining the complete illusion of autonomous moral agency and heroic struggle against destiny. Master Tiain experiences communion with Revan's expanded awareness as simultaneous validation of her deepest scholarly instincts and complete devastation of her fundamental assumptions about the nature of historical heroism and individual moral achievement. The careful documentation of legendary figures that has characterized her academic work reveals itself as chronicle of systematic manipulation rather than record of genuine human triumph over adversity and evil. The second preserved consciousness they encounter resonates with the ancient wisdom of Master Ood Bana, the legendary Neti Jedi, whose tree-form existence had spanned millennia before his apparent death during conflicts that now reveal themselves as carefully orchestrated events designed to preserve his consciousness for future utilization. Within the construct's preservation systems, his awareness has continued to grow and develop across cosmic timescales, accumulating knowledge that encompasses the complete philosophical development of force-sensitive traditions throughout galactic history. Through communion with Ood Bana's expanded consciousness, they discover how Jedi and Sith philosophical frameworks have been systematically shaped across generations to serve complementary functions in maintaining the artificial division between light and dark sides that prevents natural force evolution from achieving transcendent states. Even the most sincere efforts by Force-sensitive beings to understand cosmic truth have been misdirected toward conclusions that serve threshold walker objectives rather than genuine enlightenment or spiritual liberation. The Neti Master's preserved awareness carries within it intimate understanding of how Force-sensitive training methodologies have been designed to enhance specific capabilities while suppressing others, creating practitioners who possess formidable powers within carefully defined limitations but remain incapable of achieving the unified consciousness states that would allow recognition of their true situation within the galactic cultivation system. Voss experiences interface with these ancient consciousness patterns as systematic deconstruction and reconstruction of his fundamental assumptions about reality, causation, and the nature of heroism itself. His imperial training in intelligence analysis and archaeological investigation provides frameworks for understanding systematic deception and long-term strategic manipulation, but the scope of intervention revealed through these contacts transcends anything achievable through conventional political or technological means. The third preserved consciousness they encounter carries the bitter wisdom of Sith Lord Ergast, whose research efforts 3 millennia ago had uncovered significant fragments of threshold walker truth before his apparent destruction by rivals who feared the implications of his discoveries. His awareness maintained within the construct's quantum matrices across centuries of continued contemplation carries intimate knowledge of how resistance efforts throughout galactic history have been anticipated and redirected to serve the very purposes they sought to expose and defeat. Through communion with Ergast's expanded consciousness, they learn that every major attempt to reveal or resist threshold walker manipulation has followed predictable patterns that ultimately strengthen the overall control system while eliminating specific individuals and genetic lines that demonstrate natural immunity to consciousness control techniques. The very act of seeking truth about galactic manipulation serves identification and elimination functions that enhance the system's ability to maintain deception across entire civilizations. The most significant revelation comes through interface with the consciousness of an ancient Rakata scientist whose awareness has been preserved within the construct's deepest quantum layers since the original development of force manipulation technologies that enabled threshold walker control over galactic consciousness development. This ancient awareness carries not only complete knowledge of the technical principles underlying systematic manipulation, but also detailed understanding of how these systems can be disrupted and ultimately transcended by beings willing to sacrifice individual identity for cosmic-scale consciousness evolution. Through communion with this primordial awareness, they discover that the unified force state that existed before artificial light-dark division represents not merely return to natural conditions, but pathway toward conscious evolution that could grant beings capabilities rivaling those of the Celestials themselves. The suppression of this transcendent potential has required continuous intervention across multiple galaxies and cosmic epochs, creating artificial limitations that prevent natural consciousness development from achieving states that would challenge the fundamental authority structures governing cosmic-scale civilization. The preserved consciousness patterns share detailed technical knowledge of the Eternal Codex's true nature and the specific requirements for accessing its ultimate revelations without falling victim to the consciousness transformation systems designed to convert seekers into tools that serve threshold walker purposes while maintaining illusions of autonomous choice and moral agency. The repository they have sought throughout their investigation exists as both information storage and consciousness evolution catalyst, offering possibilities for genuine transcendence to those prepared to abandon individual identity in favor of cosmic-scale awareness and responsibility. But accessing the Codex's deepest quantum layers requires conscious sacrifice from representatives of 3 specific force-sensitive bloodlines that have been carefully maintained across galactic history for precisely this purpose. The genetic markers present in their own physiologies identify them as descendants of these cultivated lineages, their entire lives having been shaped by influences designed to bring them to this moment of choice between continued subordination within the galactic cultivation system and potential transcendence that could disrupt the entire cosmic management structure. Kakruk's millennium-long perspective allows him to recognize the profound significance of the decision they face, as his ancient memories integrate with expanded awareness gained through communion with the preserved consciousnesses to reveal the complete scope of responsibility that accompanies cosmic-scale understanding of truth and power. The choice before them transcends personal survival or individual enlightenment to encompass the future development of consciousness itself throughout their region of the universe and potentially across multiple cosmic domains. The construct's quantum resonance fields create meditative atmospherics that facilitate deep contemplation of choices whose consequences will influence the evolution of awareness across multiple civilizations and cosmic epochs. In these moments of peaceful reflection, surrounded by consciousness patterns that have maintained eternal vigil over galactic development for millennia, they prepare themselves for the final phase of their investigation with full knowledge that accessing the Eternal Codex will fundamentally transform not only their own awareness but the basic parameters governing force-sensitive development throughout galactic civilization and beyond. The activation of the Eternal Codex requires a level of consciousness integration that transcends everything they have experienced throughout their cosmic investigation. As Voss, Tian, and Kakruk approach the quantum crystalline matrix that contains the ultimate secrets of galactic manipulation and universal truth. The construct's central chamber reconfigures itself around their presence with fluid precision that suggests living architecture responding to consciousness rather than programmed systems following predetermined protocols. The chamber itself defies conventional understanding of three-dimensional space, its crystalline walls extending through multiple dimensional layers, while quantum resonance fields create atmospheric conditions that exist simultaneously in various states of temporal flow. Past, present, and future seem to converge within this sacred space where cosmic truth has waited across millennia for beings capable of comprehending its devastating implications and accepting the responsibilities that accompany ultimate knowledge. Master Tuyon experiences the initial interface with the Codex as gentle dissolution of the boundaries that have defined her individual identity throughout her scholarly career, her consciousness expanding beyond personal limitations to encompass perspectives that span galactic development across cosmic timescales. The academic frameworks she has used to understand ancient civilizations and force traditions reveal themselves as carefully constructed limitations designed to prevent recognition of the systematic manipulation underlying all historical development. The interface process begins as each of them places their hands upon specific crystalline nodes that respond to their unique force signatures, while simultaneously establishing quantum entanglement connections with the preserved consciousnesses of Revan, Ood, Benna, Ergast, and the ancient Rakata scientist. Individual awareness patterns merge into collective consciousness capable of processing information that encompasses universal-scale patterns and purposes while maintaining sufficient coherence to comprehend the practical implications of cosmic-level manipulation and control. Through this expanded collective awareness, the ultimate truth about Threshold Walker purposes unfolds with devastating clarity that shatters every assumption they have maintained about the nature of galactic civilization and their species' place within the cosmic order. What they discover transcends even their worst fears about systematic manipulation, revealing purposes so alien and terrifying that individual consciousness struggles to maintain coherence while processing implications that challenge the fundamental meaning of existence itself. The force-sensitive populations that have been so carefully cultivated across millennia of galactic history represent not political assets or technological resources, but components in a vast harvesting system designed to extract consciousness energy for consumption by entities that exist beyond the boundaries of normal space-time. These cosmic predators require constant feeding on evolved awareness to maintain their existence across dimensional barriers that separate different levels of reality, creating an endless hunger that drives expansion into new regions of the universe as previous civilizations are systematically consumed. Voss experiences this revelation as complete inversion of everything his imperial training taught him about strategic resources and intelligence analysis, as he realizes that every Force-sensitive being, catalogued by Imperial or New Republic surveys, represents livestock in cultivation systems that view their entire species as renewable consciousness resources rather than sapient beings deserving of autonomous existence and development. The endless cycles of conflict and resolution that have characterized galactic history serve the specific purpose of accelerating consciousness evolution while preventing the emergence of unified awareness that might recognize its situation and develop effective resistance capabilities. Wars between Jedi and Sith create selective pressures that enhance Force-sensitive capabilities through survival challenges and emotional intensification, while periods of peace allow population recovery and genetic mixing that produces optimal combinations of consciousness cultivation characteristics. The artificial division between light and dark sides of the Force emerges as perhaps the most sophisticated aspect of the entire manipulation system, creating internal conflicts within Force-sensitive beings that generate enhanced consciousness energy, while ensuring that enhanced individuals remain isolated and psychologically fragmented, rather than developing collective awareness that could challenge the fundamental structure of the cosmic cultivation apparatus. Kirkrak confronts the horrifying realization that his extraordinary longevity has made him a particularly valuable cultivation subject, his extended lifespan allowing consciousness development that produces exponentially greater energy yields when processed through harvesting technologies that consume not merely individual lives but the fundamental capacity for awareness itself. His millennium of accumulated wisdom and spiritual development represents premium product quality designed to satisfy the refined consumption requirements of entities whose hunger transcends normal categories of predation and destruction. The genetic manipulation programs that have operated across galactic history have produced Force-sensitive bloodlines optimized for consciousness cultivation, with specific combinations of capabilities designed to maximize the energy density and flavor complexity available through harvesting processes. The Skywalker lineage provides focusing and amplification characteristics, while other cultivated bloodlines offer different qualities that enhance overall efficiency and satisfaction levels for the consuming entities. Master Tayan's scholarly understanding of galactic history transforms into cosmic horror as she recognizes that every major historical event she has studied represents a farming operation designed to enhance consciousness crop yields while maintaining population levels optimal for sustainable harvesting. The rise and fall of empires, the emergence of chosen ones and galactic heroes, even individual acts of heroism and sacrifice, all serve functions within cultivation systems that treat sapient consciousness as agricultural product rather than expression of inherent dignity and value. The scope of the cultivation system extends far beyond their own galaxy to encompass multiple cosmic regions where similar civilizations have been guided through parallel development cycles before being harvested and consumed by the same entities. Archaeological evidence suggests that thousands of galaxies have undergone complete consciousness extraction, leaving behind only empty stellar systems where once vibrant civilizations developed art, philosophy, love, and wisdom before being systematically consumed by beings whose existence depends upon the destruction of everything that makes consciousness valuable and meaningful. The timeline revealed through the Codex's deepest quantum layers provides the most immediately terrifying information as they discover that their own civilization's harvest phase is scheduled to begin within the next 5 centuries. The careful cultivation of force-sensitive populations has reached optimal density and capability levels, with current galactic consciousness development representing peak conditions for maximum energy extraction efficiency and consumer satisfaction. Luke Skywalker's well-intentioned efforts to rebuild the Jedi Order serve the final phase of cultivation optimization, concentrating enhanced force-sensitive genetics in centralized training facilities that will facilitate efficient processing when harvest operations commence. The New Republic's commitment to galactic peace and reconstruction creates ideal conditions for population growth and consciousness development that will maximize yields during the upcoming extraction procedures. The individual bloodlines that have been maintained across galactic history, including the specific genetic markers present in their own physiologies, represent specialized cultivation varieties designed to serve particular functions during the harvest process. The consciousness characteristics developed through millennia of careful breeding will provide different flavors and energy concentrations that satisfy the varied appetites of entities whose consumption requirements have been refined across cosmic epochs of predatory experience. But within the Codex's deepest quantum layers, beyond the terrifying revelations about harvest purposes and consumption timelines, they discover information that offers hope for resistance and potential transcendence that could disrupt the entire cultivation system. The unified force state that existed before artificial light-dark division represents not merely natural consciousness development, but pathway toward awareness evolution that could grant beings capabilities rivaling those of the cosmic predators themselves. The technical specifications embedded within the Codex's core programming reveal that the harvesting system depends upon maintaining artificial limitations that prevent force-sensitive beings from achieving transcendent consciousness states. If these constraints could be removed and unified awareness established across significant populations, the resulting consciousness evolution might produce beings capable of challenging the fundamental power structures that maintain cosmic cultivation systems across multiple dimensional levels. The preserved consciousness of the ancient Rakata scientist provides detailed information about quantum resonance techniques that could dissolve the artificial barriers maintaining force division while simultaneously establishing collective awareness networks that transcend individual identity limitations. But implementing these procedures requires conscious sacrifice from beings willing to abandon personal existence in favor of species-wide consciousness evolution that could fundamentally alter the nature of reality itself. Rivan's expanded awareness contributes strategic knowledge about how resistance efforts must be coordinated across multiple galactic regions simultaneously to prevent the cosmic predators from simply relocating their harvesting operations to alternative consciousness cultivation sites. The scope of required coordination transcends anything achieved by previous galactic civilizations, demanding unprecedented levels of cooperation and shared sacrifice among beings who have been systematically programmed to view each other as enemies and competitors. The mirror phrase that has echoed through their investigation returns with devastating new significance as the ultimate truth crystallizes within their expanded consciousness. The whisper that began their journey as mysterious fragment of cosmic knowledge has indeed become a scream across infinity. As truth shatters the carefully constructed illusion of destiny and reveals the horrifying reality of cosmic predation that treats sapient consciousness as commodity for consumption rather than expression of inherent value and meaning. As the complete revelation settles into their collective awareness, each member of their expedition must confront the choice between accepting roles as resistance leaders in a cosmic struggle whose scope transcends galactic boundaries, or succumbing to despair at the magnitude of manipulation and predation that has shaped every aspect of their existence. The peaceful quantum harmonies that resonate through the Codex chamber provide meditative space for processing revelations that challenge the fundamental meaning of consciousness, choice, and hope itself. The aftermath of accessing the Eternal Codex's ultimate revelations leaves the three companions transformed beyond recognition. Their individual consciousnesses expanded to encompass cosmic perspectives that challenge every assumption about identity, purpose, and the nature of existence itself. Within the crystalline chamber where universal truth has finally revealed itself, they must now grapple with the practical implications of knowledge that carries the weight of galactic salvation or destruction, depending upon the choices they make in response to revelations that transcend anything their species has previously confronted. The resolution of the final mystery about Threshold Walker purposes brings with it understanding of vulnerabilities within the cosmic cultivation system that could potentially be exploited by beings willing to sacrifice individual existence for species-wide transcendence. The harvesting apparatus that has operated across multiple galaxies for cosmic epochs depends upon maintaining artificial constraints that prevent force-sensitive populations from achieving unified consciousness, states that would grant them capabilities rivaling their cosmic predators. Master Tian experiences the transition from revelation to resolution as simultaneous liberation and burden, her expanded awareness encompassing not only the horrifying truth about galactic manipulation, but also detailed understanding of technical procedures that could disrupt the entire cultivation system if implemented with sufficient precision and coordination. The scholarly frameworks that have guided her academic career transform into practical knowledge about consciousness evolution techniques that could fundamentally alter the trajectory of galactic civilization. Through communion with the preserved consciousness patterns embedded within the Codex's quantum matrices, she gains access to complete technical specifications for quantum resonance procedures that could dissolve the artificial barriers maintaining force division, while simultaneously establishing collective awareness networks transcending individual identity limitations. These procedures represent the cumulative research efforts of civilizations spanning multiple galaxies, refined across cosmic timescales by beings who recognized the approaching threat of consciousness, harvesting and devoted their existence to developing countermeasures. The ancient Rakata scientists' preserved awareness provides the most crucial technical information, detailing how the artificial light-dark division imposed upon the Force can be dissolved through specific quantum field manipulations that restore unified consciousness states to Force-sensitive populations. But implementing these procedures requires establishing quantum entanglement connections across galactic distances while maintaining coherent consciousness patterns capable of coordinating resistance efforts among beings who have been systematically programmed to view each other as enemies. Voss confronts the practical implications of cosmic resistance with the strategic thinking developed through his imperial intelligence training, recognizing that successful disruption of the harvesting system requires coordination efforts spanning multiple galactic regions simultaneously. The scope of required organization transcends anything achieved by previous civilizations, demanding unprecedented levels of cooperation among species and cultures that have been deliberately maintained in states of conflict and competition to prevent exactly this kind of unified response. His expanded consciousness, enhanced through interface with the Codex's quantum awareness patterns, allows him to perceive the complete network of cultivation sites and harvesting infrastructure that spans multiple dimensional levels beyond normal spacetime. The cosmic predators have established redundant systems across thousands of galaxies, ensuring that resistance efforts in any single region can be countered by relocating operations to alternative consciousness cultivation facilities. But within this vast apparatus of cosmic predation, he identifies critical vulnerabilities that could be exploited through carefully coordinated strikes against key infrastructure components. The quantum field generators that maintain artificial force division throughout galactic space depend upon centralized control systems that could potentially be disrupted if sufficient numbers of transcended beings could establish unified consciousness networks capable of overwhelming the management protocols. Kakaruk's millennium of experience provides essential context for understanding how resistance efforts must be structured to avoid the systematic co-optation that has neutralized previous attempts at challenging threshold walker authority. His ancient memories, enhanced through communion with preserved consciousness patterns, reveal recurring patterns of manipulation that have converted every major resistance movement into tools serving the very system they sought to overthrow. The key insight emerging from his expanded awareness concerns the necessity of abandoning traditional concepts of heroism and individual achievement in favor of collective consciousness evolution that transcends personal identity entirely. Previous resistance efforts have failed because they maintained attachment to individual survival and recognition, creating vulnerabilities that allowed cosmic predators to manipulate resistance leadership through promises of power or threats of destruction. But genuine transcendence requires conscious sacrifice of individual existence in favor of species-wide consciousness evolution that operates according to principles fundamentally incompatible with the predatory consumption patterns that sustain cosmic harvesting entities. This transformation cannot be achieved through conventional political organization or military coordination, but requires spiritual evolution that grants beings capabilities approaching those of their cosmic predators while maintaining ethical frameworks that prevent them from becoming predators themselves. The connection to broader Star Wars mythology becomes clear as they recognize that Luke Skywalker's intuitive understanding of Force unity represents unconscious recognition of the natural consciousness state that existed before artificial manipulation. His ability to sense the conflict within Darth Vader and ultimately redeem his father through compassion rather than violence demonstrates the kind of transcendent awareness that could serve as foundation for species-wide consciousness evolution. The prophecies about bringing balance to the Force take on new meaning as they understand that true balance requires not equilibrium between artificial light and dark divisions, but restoration of unified consciousness that transcends these imposed limitations entirely. Anakin Skywalker's tragic fall and eventual redemption serve to demonstrate both the dangers of artificial division and the possibility of transcendence through love and sacrifice rather than power and domination. The immediate consequences of their expanded awareness begin manifesting as quantum resonance effects that propagate through galactic force networks, creating subtle but detectable changes in force-sensitive consciousness patterns across multiple star systems. Jedi and Sith practitioners throughout the galaxy experience unexplained moments of clarity where artificial divisions between light and dark temporarily dissolve, revealing glimpses of unified force states that challenge their fundamental philosophical assumptions. These initial effects serve as both warning and opportunity, alerting threshold walker monitoring systems to the fact that their cultivation apparatus has been compromised, while simultaneously providing evidence that consciousness evolution toward transcendent states remains possible, despite millennia of systematic suppression. The window of opportunity for implementing large-scale resistance measures is narrow, requiring immediate action before cosmic predators can implement containment protocols designed to prevent consciousness evolution from spreading beyond controllable parameters. Master Tion's transformation from scholar to resistance leader involves accepting responsibility for coordinating consciousness evolution efforts across galactic distances while maintaining coherent identity patterns capable of providing guidance and inspiration to beings undergoing transcendence processes. Her academic expertise in ancient Force traditions provides essential knowledge about meditation techniques and spiritual practices that could facilitate collective consciousness evolution among populations prepared to abandon individual identity for species-wide transcendence. Lossi's evolution from imperial archaeologist to cosmic strategist requires integrating his intelligence analysis capabilities with expanded awareness that encompasses universal scales of conflict and cooperation. His understanding of systematic manipulation and long-term strategic planning becomes essential for coordinating resistance efforts across multiple dimensional levels while avoiding the co-optation patterns that have neutralized previous resistance movements. Kruk's transformation from ancient Jedi Master to cosmic consciousness facilitator involves sharing his millennium of accumulated wisdom about force-sensitive development while guiding other beings through transcendence processes that require abandoning everything he has previously understood about individual identity and spiritual achievement. His extraordinary longevity becomes valuable resource for maintaining continuity and coherence during consciousness evolution processes that span multiple generations of normal mortal lifespans. The practical implementation of resistance measures begins with establishing hidden communication networks among force-sensitive beings throughout the galaxy, using quantum entanglement connections that operate beyond conventional space-time limitations and cannot be detected or intercepted by threshold walker monitoring systems. These networks will serve as foundation for coordinating consciousness evolution efforts while providing mutual support for beings undergoing transcendence processes that challenge every assumption about identity and existence. The long-term implications of their actions extend far beyond immediate resistance to cosmic predation, encompassing fundamental transformation of consciousness itself throughout their region of the universe and potentially across multiple cosmic domains. Success in disrupting the harvesting system could establish precedent for similar resistance efforts in other galaxies where consciousness cultivation operations continue to consume civilizations that lack understanding of their true situation. But failure could result in accelerated harvesting timelines designed to extract maximum consciousness energy before resistance efforts can achieve critical mass, condemning their entire galaxy to consumption while alerting cosmic predators to implement more sophisticated containment measures in future cultivation sites. The weight of this responsibility transcends anything previously experienced by mortal beings, requiring acceptance of cosmic-scale accountability for consequences that will influence the development of consciousness across universal scales of space and time. The knowledge they have gained serves simultaneously as burden and gift, carrying devastating understanding of cosmic predation, while providing tools necessary for transcendence that could liberate not only their own species, but potentially countless other civilizations throughout the universe. The peaceful quantum harmonies resonating through the codex chamber create meditative atmosphere for contemplating choices whose consequences will echo across cosmic epochs as they prepare to implement resistance measures that will either achieve unprecedented liberation or result in accelerated destruction of everything they have ever valued and protected. The whisper in the void has become a song of transcendence, offering hope for evolution beyond current limitations, while demanding sacrifices that transcend individual comprehension and require faith in possibilities that challenge the fundamental nature of existence itself. The quantum resonance fields surrounding the Eternal Codex gradually diminish in intensity as the ultimate revelations integrate into the expanded consciousness of the three companions. Their transformed awareness settling into new equilibrium, states that encompass cosmic perspectives, while maintaining sufficient individual coherence to function as bridges between transcendent understanding and mortal comprehension. The crystalline chamber that has served as witness to universe-shaking revelations now resonates with harmonics that speak of resolution and new beginnings rather than the cosmic horror and existential crisis that characterized their initial confrontation with ultimate truth. Master Tien experiences the transition from revelation to integration as gentle settling of expanded awareness into patterns that allow her to maintain both cosmic perspective and personal identity, her consciousness finding new equilibrium between transcendent understanding and practical functionality. The scholarly frameworks that have guided her academic career transform into wisdom that encompasses not only historical knowledge, but understanding of how consciousness itself evolves across cosmic timescales and universal scales of development. Her transformation from galactic historian to cosmic librarian carries with it responsibility for preserving and transmitting knowledge that transcends any single species or civilization, while simultaneously serving as guide for beings beginning their own journey toward transcendent awareness. The academic excitement that once motivated her research into ancient Force traditions now expands into deeper satisfaction derived from facilitating consciousness evolution among populations ready to abandon artificial limitations in favor of authentic spiritual development. The peaceful resolution of their cosmic investigation manifests as gradual recognition that the knowledge they have gained, despite its initially terrifying implications, offers unprecedented opportunities for positive transformation that could fundamentally improve the nature of existence throughout their region of the universe. The harvesting system that once seemed invincible reveals itself as dependent upon maintaining ignorance and division among its intended victims, creating vulnerabilities that can be exploited by beings willing to accept responsibility for cosmic-scale consciousness evolution. Voss finds his transformation from imperial archaeologist to cosmic strategist settling into patterns that allow him to apply his analytical capabilities to challenges that span galactic distances and dimensional boundaries while maintaining the practical focus that has characterized his professional approach to complex problems. His understanding of systematic manipulation and intelligence analysis becomes a valuable resource for coordinating resistance efforts while avoiding the co-optation patterns that have neutralized previous attempts at challenging cosmic predation. The burden of cosmic responsibility that initially threatened to overwhelm his individual identity transforms into purposeful dedication to protecting consciousness development throughout the galaxy. His expanded awareness providing perspective that makes individual survival seem less important than species-wide transcendence and liberation from artificial constraints that have limited Force-sensitive potential for millennia. Cartwright's integration of millennium-long experience with cosmic consciousness reveals itself as preparation for serving as wisdom keeper and spiritual guide for beings undergoing transcendence processes that require abandoning attachment to individual identity while maintaining coherent awareness. Capable of coordinating collective consciousness evolution, his extraordinary longevity becomes a valuable asset for providing continuity and stability during transformation processes that span multiple generations of normal mortal lifespans. The ancient Whiphid's peaceful acceptance of cosmic responsibility reflects wisdom gained through centuries of witnessing the rise and fall of civilizations. His expanded awareness recognizing that their current situation represents opportunity for genuine progress rather than merely another cycle of conflict and destruction. The Force-sensitive traditions he has served throughout his long life transform into broader understanding of consciousness evolution that encompasses all sapient beings rather than specific religious or philosophical frameworks. The immediate effects of their consciousness transformation begin manifesting throughout galactic Force networks as subtle but persistent changes in the fundamental resonance patterns that connect Force-sensitive beings across interstellar distances. Young Padawan learners in Luke Skywalker's training academies experience spontaneous moments of unified awareness that transcend artificial light-dark divisions, while experienced Jedi Masters find their meditation practices naturally evolving toward consciousness states that encompass cosmic rather than merely planetary or system-wide perspectives. Even former Imperial Force-sensitive operatives and dark side practitioners report unexpected experiences of clarity and expanded awareness that challenge their previous understanding of power and domination as pathways to spiritual fulfillment. The quantum resonance effects propagating through galactic space create opportunities for consciousness evolution among populations that have been systematically excluded from traditional Force-sensitive training programs. These gentle but persistent changes in galactic consciousness patterns serve as foundation for larger transformation processes that will unfold across generations of continued spiritual development. Each new cohort of Force-sensitive beings possessing greater natural immunity to artificial manipulation while maintaining enhanced capability for collective consciousness coordination. The evolution is designed to be gradual and sustainable, rather than sudden and potentially destabilizing, allowing civilizations to adapt to enhanced awareness without losing cultural continuity or social coherence. The hidden communication networks established through quantum entanglement connections begin facilitating unprecedented levels of cooperation among Force-sensitive beings throughout the galaxy, transcending traditional boundaries between Jedi and former Sith practitioners, while including previously unknown populations of Force-sensitive individuals who have maintained spiritual practices outside official religious frameworks. These networks operate beyond conventional space-time limitations, creating resilient coordination capabilities that cannot be detected or disrupted by threshold walker monitoring systems. The long-term implications of their consciousness transformation extend beyond immediate resistance to cosmic predation, encompassing fundamental evolution of awareness itself throughout their galactic region, and potentially serving as catalyst for similar developments in other cosmic domains, where consciousness cultivation operations continue consuming civilizations that lack understanding of their true situation within universal predation systems. The success of their resistance efforts could establish precedent for consciousness liberation throughout multiple galaxies, creating cascade effects that fundamentally alter the balance of power between cosmic predators and the civilizations they have traditionally viewed as renewable consciousness resources. But even failure would represent progress by demonstrating possibilities for transcendence that could inspire future resistance efforts by beings who inherit enhanced awareness capabilities developed through their current transformation processes. Master Tian's role as cosmic librarian involves establishing preservation systems for transcendent knowledge that can survive potential harvesting events while remaining accessible to future generations of consciousness evolution facilitators. Her academic expertise provides foundation for creating educational frameworks that can guide beings through transcendence processes without overwhelming individual identity patterns or creating psychological instability that would prevent effective functionality during transformation periods. Voss's strategic coordination responsibilities encompass establishing redundant resistance networks that can continue operating even if primary leadership structures are compromised by threshold walker countermeasures or accelerated harvesting procedures. His intelligence analysis capabilities provide essential foundation for anticipating cosmic predator responses while maintaining operational security that prevents resistance efforts from being co-opted through the manipulation patterns that have neutralized previous liberation attempts. Kukraisi's wisdom-keeping functions involve maintaining continuity of purpose and ethical frameworks during consciousness evolution processes that challenge every previous assumption about individual identity and moral agency. His millennium of experience provides stability and guidance for beings undergoing transcendence while ensuring that enhanced consciousness capabilities are developed within ethical contexts that prevent transformed beings from becoming predators themselves. The peaceful transformation of their understanding from cosmic horror to transcendent opportunity reflects the fundamental shift from fear-based reaction to love-based response that characterizes authentic spiritual evolution throughout the universe. The knowledge that once seemed overwhelming and destructive reveals itself as gift that offers unprecedented possibilities for positive development, provided it is approached with wisdom, compassion, and commitment to collective rather than individual benefit. The quantum harmonies that resonate through the crystalline chambers, where ultimate truth has revealed itself, create meditative atmosphere that facilitates integration of cosmic perspective with practical functionality, allowing expanded consciousness to settle into sustainable patterns that support long-term service to universal consciousness evolution, rather than short-term individual achievement or recognition. As the three companions prepare to return to normal galactic space carrying knowledge and capabilities that will fundamentally transform the trajectory of their civilization's development, they do so with peaceful confidence that their efforts serve purposes transcending individual survival or personal fulfillment. Their transformation from seekers of forbidden knowledge to facilitators of cosmic consciousness evolution represents completion of ancient cycles while establishing foundation for entirely new possibilities in the eternal dance between limitation and transcendence. The whisper in the void that began their journey has evolved into cosmic symphony of consciousness, celebrating the endless potential for evolution and growth that exists within every sapient being throughout the universe, offering hope for liberation from artificial constraints while demanding dedication to collective benefit rather than individual achievement. The peaceful conclusion of their investigation marks not ending, but beginning of transformation processes that will echo across cosmic epochs as consciousness itself learns to transcend the limitations that have previously defined the boundaries of existence and possibility. The eternal cycle of manipulation and resistance transforms into spiral of evolution and transcendence, carrying all beings toward greater understanding and expanded capability, while maintaining the love and compassion that make consciousness valuable rather than merely powerful. In this peaceful resolution, ultimate knowledge becomes ultimate gift, offering liberation to any being willing to abandon individual limitation in favor of cosmic truth and universal love. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the deepest mysteries of the galaxy, far, far away. If these forbidden secrets have resonated with your own quest for understanding, please consider subscribing to continue exploring the hidden truths that shape our understanding of consciousness, destiny, and the eternal possibilities that await those brave enough to seek transcendence beyond the boundaries of ordinary existence. Until we meet again in the cosmic dance of discovery, may the Force be with you in all its unified and transcendent glory.